Okay, college football fans, college football is in full swing. The Oregon Ducks out of the Pac-12, missing a huge opportunity, not only for their conference, but for the program to get that much needed or much wanted signature SEC win. The misery, the aggravation, that just yearning for wanting to beat an SEC team at this point seems to be it's just not going to happen. And especially not next year. USC takes on Alabama in 2020 in, of course, the Advocare Classic, another neutral site game for the Pac-12 and the SEC to take on one another. But if you look at the Pac-12 over the last few years, the conference champion wouldn't have made the playoffs anyway, usually having 2 or more losses in the season and just not putting themselves in a high-level position to compete for a college football playoff because, you like it or love it, their conference slate doesn't get the national perception that maybe it deserves. I'm not here to say whether Pac-12 is a weaker conference than the SEC or not, but as far as public perception is reality here. No one respects a team that loses one game in the Pac-12, especially if that one game loss is to a middle tier SEC team. The best thing that Oregon can hope for is for Auburn to have a very, very successful season so this loss can have a little value to it. Because if Auburn winds up tanking the rest of the season, this loss is going to be catastrophic for Oregon and the Pac-12. And it's very, very unlikely, in my opinion, based on some of the depth issues that I saw with Oregon here against Auburn, some of the fatigue, they still, don't have the quite the scholarship players that they want and what Mario Cristobal expects to have in the near future. Injury, C.J. Verdell looked like he was nursing a shoulder injury, not a lot of quality depth at the running back position to make a really, really good run, in my opinion. And, of course, you have the debacle with injuries with the receiver core, which I think made a pretty nice difference in the way Justin Herbert approached this particular football game. Justin Herbert as well, a tentative Heisman Trophy candidate, still has not had that Heisman moment. He had the opportunity against Auburn, but just didn't take advantage of it. And the receiver core could have had something to do with it. Or at a certain point, we just need more out of Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert just doesn't show that he has the talent, but he still doesn't show that tenacity or even that intensity that even Bo Nix had in the Auburn versus Oregon game, even as a true freshman. Outside of the nice touchdown run that he had in the first quarter, I think, and then that nice pass that he threw where the receiver outmanned Javaris Davis. But if Oregon is going to recover from this particular football game properly, you got to get a little bit more out of Justin Herbert. I'm really interested to see how much more Andy Avalos can continue to improve the defense. The defense, as far as points allowed, picked up pretty much where they left off, allowing 25-plus points per game, allowing Auburn 27 points in that game, 21 points in the second half. And a lot of it was due to misalignment, that catch by Eli Stove. Guys were just grossly out of position. There were several plays where the defense caused penalties and free plays that, really, really helped Auburn gain some momentum. So we're going to see once Pac-12 play starts, which will be on the 7th. They play Nevada this week. Get to tune some things up and then get ready for Pac-12 play. And it's going to be very interesting because Oregon continues to struggle as well outside of Autzen Stadium. That's a trend that has to stop if Oregon expects to compete on a very, very high level. Conversely, for the Auburn Tigers, coming into the game against Tulane this week, definitely have some things to work on, but it's better to work on those particular things coming off a win versus a heartbreaking loss. You tend to things tend to soak in a little bit better psychologically after a win versus after a loss, because you don't have that redemptive factor. You're talking about 2 weeks before Auburn faces any Power 5 competition, especially in the SEC, having to go down to College Station to take on a much improved, presumably much improved Texas A&M football team. But very, very tough break for the Pac-12, because at this point, unless you have a undefeated Pac-12 team, which has not happened even since I'm just going to say, because I don't have the stats in front of me, since the 2010 Oregon team. Because even Oregon in 2014 came into the college football playoffs with a loss. Okay? Now, one thing that's going to happen is you're going to have a re-emergence in the quality of opponents in the Pac-12. USC's taking a step back. California has to, really hold their end of the deal. Stanford has to continue to be that staple team. You got some other teams starting to come up, Washington State, and of course Utah, which will really help the Pac-12 have a little bit more in-conference value. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here talking a little Auburn football. Had to reflect back on Oregon. Really, where do they go from here? It's going to be a tough road as far as making the college football playoff. At this point, we're still iffy on whether a Pac-12 championship is plausible. As always, like this video, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It's always great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle.